Could you imagine your whole entire family, including yourself, become sick because of the water you drink out of your faucet? Well, Leanne Walters, and a mother of four, experienced just this. Living in Flint, Michigan, she was getting ready for bed when she heard her daughter shriek from the bathroom. She ran upstairs to find her 18-year-old standing in the shower, staring at a clump of long brown hair that had just fallen from her head. Walters was alarmed but not surprised. The entire family was losing hair. There had been other strange things going on through the previous months. Twins, Gavin and Garrett, kept breaking out in rashes. Gavin had stopped growing. On several occasions, her 14-year-old had suffered from abdominal pains so severe that Walters took him to the hospital. And at one point, all of Leanne's own eyelashes have fallen out. The family, as you guessed, was suffering from effects of the lead in Flint water supply. The contamination will have long-term, irreversible consequences on the city's children. The contamination was discovered in April of 2014. In an attempt to save money, the City Council of Flint, Michigan voted to purchase water from the Karagandhi Water Authority instead of the Detroit Water. The KWA was not supposed to be finished until this year, so they decided to rely on its backup, the Flint River. After switching, residents found that their water was contaminated. The governor declared an emergency because of the elevated levels in lead found in its general water supply. Now, Leanne Walters was not the only family that's affected in Michigan by this. The whole entire city will be affected by this water switch. How is the Flint water crisis affecting people, and what can we do to help?
The Flint water crisis is a drinking water contamination issue in Flint, Michigan. The first sign of this crisis was in April 2014, almost exactly 2 years ago. Flint, Michigan is located 66 miles northwest of Detroit and right along the Flint River and is home to 102,434 people. The largest group of freshwater bodies, the Great Lakes, is located about 70 miles away. For some reason, Flint's residents can't get clean water from their taps. The state decided to save money by switching Flint's water supply from Lake Huron because they had to pay the city of Detroit for the water from Lake Huron, so they switched to the Flint River. According to an article by Sarah Ganem and Lynn Tron from CNN.com, the locals know the river for its filth, so they were really shocked when they heard the news about the switch. Okay, so the switch in the water supply happens. Not long after, the water started to look, smell, and taste funny, but there was nothing funny about it at all. Most people thought it was sewage, but actually it was iron. Researchers from Virginia Tech discovered the Flint water to be highly corrosive, 19 times more so compared to the water from Lake Huron. On top of all that, the State Department of Environmental Quality wasn't following the law by not treating the Flint River water with an anti-corrosive agent. The worst part of this whole thing is that about half the service lines to Flint homes are made of lead. Since the water wasn't properly treated, lead began getting into the water supply. Lead and iron can do very harmful things to people. Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha was seeing many children that had bad rashes and hair loss. Kids were shockingly coming up with double and triple amount of lead in their bloods than they were supposed to. Lead poisoning does lots of things to your body. It drops your IQ, affects your behavior, and has been linked to criminal behavior. And it doesn't stop with that one person either. It is passed on through many generations of people. This has become a problem in not just Flint. Detroit, Baltimore, Washington, and most urban cities have had some lead poisoning issues in their more poor areas.
How are the people surviving in the poisonous city of Flint today? People learn to cope with things, as life as we know it is always changing, even when it is as severe as a lead contamination that developed into a water crisis. As officials try to solve the long-term problems, the short-term responsibilities lie in the hands of volunteers. Volunteer Virginia Bielesco goes door to door in Flint delivering cases of clean water. When interviewed by Kane Faribaugh from the Voice of America, she said, "If you can't afford to leave an area and you're stuck in it, think about everything you do. Brushing your teeth, showering, cooking. I mean, we use water for a lot more than just drinking water. The people of Flint are forced to cut down on water usage and live life in a much more conservative fashion. Terrence Johnson, also a resident of Flint, claimed that he hasn't had a real shower in 1 year. Also, when asked if leaving Flint, he said, "No, this is my home." The strong people of Flint are learning not to take their water supply for granted. Businesses in Flint are also suffering. Atanas Z, who was interviewed by Brenna Hawk from the Detroit Eater, owns a local restaurant where he is struggling to make ends meet. He is considering closing his doors after 20 years in the business. Nobody wants to eat out anymore. The people of Flint are having a very hard time trusting anyone after being lied to for so long. Restaurants were forced to install commercial-grade filters for $1,800 each, which did not help their business. The economy as a whole in this Michigan city has taken a huge blow since they are unable to attract people to live, work, and go to school there. The water source has been switched back to Lake Huron. Many people wonder if people have done anything to try to help this problem, but it has been switched back to the original lake. Teams of professionals are still working to test the water to find out when it'll be safe to consume again. But many people have picked up the free filters that are offered in their community, but a lot of them say they will never use their tap water again. They do not trust it, and many say that they won't use it even if it's for a shower or to wash their clothes. As we all know, this horrible crisis has hurt the people of Flint, but it has also negatively affected the environment. Humans were not alone in consuming the beer water, as it is commonly referred to as in Flint. Plants and animals have also had their fair share of the contaminated drink. Dogs in Flint have been tested positive for lead poisoning like the many humans in Flint. Lead affects animals the same way it affects people, says Sammy Hanna, a vet tech in Michigan. Plants are not as affected as animals, but they did not go unharmed. The large amounts of lead found in the water seeped into the ground where it is sucked up by the plant roots. Large amounts of lead inhibits plant growth, reduces photosynthesis, which has a negative spiraling effect in an ecosystem. And plants vary in uptake of lead, so some are more lead sensitive than others. All living things are fighting to survive in the poisonous city of Flint.
Now, you may be wondering, are there any other communities in the United States where water contamination has been a problem? Actually, yes. One includes a elementary school, actually, in Ithaca, New York City, that had very high contamination numbers. Actually, this is just one of the hundreds across the nation where children were exposed to water contaminating excessive amounts of lead, which doctors have all said is very unsafe at any level. This is according to a U.S. Today Network investigation. One analysis of the United States Environmental Protection Agency showed that about 350 schools and daycare centers failed the lead test in a total of 470 times in 2012, between 2012 and 2015. Actually, one water sample at a Maine school was 41 times higher than the lead should be, and another at a Pennsylvania preschool was 14 times higher. In one community in Ohio, the state environmental officials knew as early as in October that the residents were drinking water that was contaminated with lead. However, they did not warn the public, and this happens a lot more than you think it would. Now, you may be wondering, how can I avoid it being affected by lead contamination? Well, according for the Centers of Disease Control, how to avoid lead contamination, it says to flush out each sink individually before using the water for drinking and cooking. You can also use the water flush from the tap to water plants, wash dishes, and clothing, or to clean. However, avoid cooking with it and drinking hot tap water because hot water actually dissolves lead more readily than cold water does. Now, how is the government helping the community of Flint? Well, Obama announced that $80 million in new funding would help Michigan improve its water its water problems. However, this has not been completely approved by Congress yet. Also, U.S. senators in Michigan and one representative of the House announced a proposed legislation to provide up to $400 million in federal funding to go towards resolving the issues in Flint, plus $200 million to address health concerns for children and adults who have been exposed to lead. Now, you may be wondering, how can I help the people in Flint, Michigan? Well, there are many different organizations that you can donate money to that are going to help these people get clean water, get safe water, and also be able to relocate. One is the Flint Water Fund, which is a program where they drive safe water and safe water filters to families in Flint. It has donated over 11,000 filter systems so far. Also, another would be the Save the Children Act, which is assisting families and children and child care providers by providing them with healthy foods and early childhood development support programs. There are many different programs that you can donate to that can help the people in Flint. You just have to find which one you feel is right for you.
The Flint water crisis is a huge drinking water contamination. Though many people are handling this by getting affected by diseases and other contaminations, which was also affecting surrounding communities. The Flint water crisis was affecting many people, plants, and animals, but with the help of surrounding communities and the government, those people, plants, and animals can be helped.